Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Dave Hernley, your lead developer on Starship Horizons, and here we are for update 3 of the alpha. So we've got good and bad news to talk about today, so let's get started and go ahead and get the bad news right out of the way. When we had talked last time, we had talked that engineering was in process and we were going to hold off on the alpha until engineering was ready to launch, if you will. Due to professional and other factors, I have not had the time to dedicate to getting engineering to where I want it to be for you to play. But that's the end of the bad news because we're not going to wait anymore to get the alpha to you. So as a result, starting the good news section, if you will, the alpha will be released on March 1st, that's this Tuesday, roughly in the early evening Eastern time. So you'll get an email from me stating not only a couple of instructions, but also providing you a download link for the installer and your registration code that's good for the alpha phase. Okay. Once you get that download link, it's about 7 megs. You'll pull that down, perform the installation, and when you run the application, Starship Horizons, you'll get the launcher here, this little window. This allows you to change some settings like full screen, set up your DMX, and a few other things as well. But it also will automatically update the game. Why is that important? Mainly because, well, we're not launching engineering as a result to begin the alpha, but that means we can add it in at any time. So as I make corrections based on bugs found by the community, updates, new features, engineering, for example, or some other things that we're not talking about that we're going to kind of throw in during the alpha, new missions, changes to missions, all of that will automatically download every time you run the launcher here. Once the launcher completes and checks for any updates and goes through that process, it'll show you any transmissions from me. So as I publish fixes, maybe add a new mission and want to tell you about it, that'll be listed right here under transmissions. So you'll be keeping in touch with me through that and through our forums on starshiphorizons.com. So let's get started and talk about a few other things that you should expect when you get the alpha. We'll go ahead and launch here. And here we are at the main splash screen. Really simplified for the alpha. We're not going into a lot of depth with things like the campaign and other things that'll be coming later on. But you'll have your mission list right there in the middle. The missions are all intended to be essentially single bridge play, but you'll notice you also have buttons available for starting a multi-bridge server and connecting to a multi-bridge server. Now, you're perfectly welcome to try multi-bridge during the alpha. It is functional, though of course it needs testing just like the rest of the alpha, but it's going to be local bridges only for the start of the alpha, okay? So if you have 2 bridges local, it'll work just fine in terms of getting connected and playing through. It automatically connects. You don't have to type in any IPs or anything. It automatically does a search. Outside of that, let's talk about the single bridge experience, which will be the majority of you folks. When you select a mission, you go through the process, and let's talk about how you connect your browsers. On screen, you'll actually see, it'll say consoles, and it'll give you the IP, like 192.168.1.19, for example, and colon 1864. That's the address you type into your URL in your browser. So like right behind here, we've got this already pulled up. Now I've got flight, but let's go back. If I typed in that 192.168.1.19, for example, that I have locally, colon 1864, we'll get our splash screen here that gives us the ability to select our console. From there, I'll just select flight. When a mission is not in process, all stations will show the wait screen for system on standby with the icon for that particular station. Okay, so it'll sit there. Now let's go back to our game, and this normally you'll have in full screen on big screen TV or a nice monitor in front of your crew. Okay, but let's go ahead and play the long patrol here. This is the mission I tell all of you to start with. It's a great starter mission. It's good because it gets all your players involved with the requirements to complete the mission, and it escalates throughout. It's a nice training mission, if you will. And actually, we've seen a lot of crews replay it, trying some different strategies and techniques, taking on some of the enemies. Most missions will have a splash screen that also shows you kind of a mission objectives. Have your captain read that to the crew as they get started. Once you read through that, you can actually either on your consoles hit continue or even hit the enter key on your main screen there. And in a lot of missions, you'll start in space dock. You'll notice not only did we start off here in space dock, but also around it, the screen behind it, flight, came to life. That's going to happen for all your stations. They'll go from that wait screen right into their interactive mode, and you're good to go. Couple of tips. The icon, the name at the top, if you will, in this case it says flight. If you touch that, it'll go right back to your selection list, okay? So I'll tap flight again. You can hit the little hand icon there to go full screen, just like that. and I'm fully interactive in my station. Now I'm going to go ahead and go out of full screen because we're going to go back to the game here and talk about that. Little tip: for any missions where you start in space dock, captains, you have to request permission with your comms officer to leave space dock. Otherwise, you're not really going to be going anywhere. Just a little tip for you out there. Other than that, what we want to do is wish everyone well. We'll talk to you Tuesday. And
Horizons, you are go for departure.
oh, okay. Well, it sounds like where everything's ready to go. We'll see you Tuesday. See you around the galaxy.